الحمد لله رب العالمين له الحمد الحسن والثناء الجميل وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه والتابعين لهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. I want to start by saying that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward the organizers who organized this lecture, put it together, and for them inviting me over, inshallah. And may Allah tabarak wa ta'ala reward the masjid for allowing me to come and to deliver this lecture. I also want to say that I prepared my notes and everything, and I left them all in the UAE. So before I left, I had a file and I lost everything. Well, I never lost it, I forgot everything. So whatever I can remember from the lecture today, I will say it, and anything I forget, وَمَا أَنْسَانِهُ إِلَّا الشَّيْطَانِ. Shaitan is the one that made me forget. Inshallah ta'ala, the story that I want to speak about today is a story regarding great imams. Not one imam, but imams in number. And these scholars are known as the Maqdisiyin and the Maqadisa. You probably have come across their names. Imam so-and-so al-Maqdisi. Imam so-and-so al-Maqdisi. It's their life I want to speak about. When the Islamic century, the 5th century in the Islamic calendar, the French Crusades, they invaded Ard al-Sham, and when they invaded it, they took over Bayt al-Maqdis. And when they took over Bayt al-Maqdis, they took parts of Bayt al-Maqdis and gave it to different rulers. The Crusades, they divided amongst themselves each part of Bayt al-Maqdis in which they will control. There was a particular land called Jamma'il. Jamma'il is close to a place called Nablus.
So, brothers and sisters, there's a lot of cars in the car park and it's caused a lot of chaos for the brothers that came here to pray Salat al-Maghrib. So inshallah, if anyone who's driving and is parked can move their cars away before the lecture starts, inshallah.
So this land Jamma'il, this particular land Jamma'il, was taken by one of the crusade leaders. And amongst themselves, they were not the same. They were Ahlul Shar, evil people, but their leaders were not all the same. They were different amongst themselves. Jamma'il specifically was given to a tyrannical crusade leader. His name was Barazan. Barazan is the man who controlled Jamma'il, and it was given to him. And in Jamma'il, there was a great scholar by the name of Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudamah al-Maqdisi rahimahullah. So I repeat, Ard al-Sham was taken over by the Salibiyin, the Crusades. They came in with force and they took over a good portion of the Muslim land. And the reason why, or the way that they took over, was the Khilafah was in Baghdad. And the Khilafah became weak in Baghdad, and non-Arabs known as the Mamalik took over. And the Mamalik, when they took over, what they did was they fought amongst themselves, and whenever they couldn't beat each other, they will call for the Crusades. They will ask the A'da' al-Muslimeen for help. And the Crusades would come, and they wouldn't just help, but they would what? They would beat the ones that called them in and take that land. So the Muslims were becoming weaker and weaker and weaker. What was even happening was something even worse happened, which is the Tatar thought they wanted to come forward. And the Tatar, they were under the leadership of Genghis Khan. And Genghis Khan was ruthless. He has no mercy. He doesn't just take over lands. He burns the land to the ground. He takes all the wealth that he can, and if he can't take it, and he's riding beast and his soldiers cannot take it, what he will do is that he will make sure he burns their houses and he burns down their properties and their cottages and their houses, everything. He was ruthless. He was worse than the Crusade. And the Crusades, the Muslims could live with them. Lakin, the Tatar, no one could live with them. They would kill everybody. And so the Muslims became weak, so much so that if they heard the Tatar were coming, they would run away. Ala kulli hal, the Salibiyin took over this land, this particular land called in Bayt al-Maqdis, Jamma'il. All of Bayt al-Maqdis was under theirs, the Salibiyin, lakin they had control over a place called Jamma'il. Jamma'il was run by a man from the Salibiyin. They gave it to a tyrannical man. His name was Barazan. Barazan, he had no mercy. So what he used to do was, he would chop the hands and the legs of the Muslims, and he would tell them to work on the farmyards. And the reason he would do that is because he didn't want them to run away. His aim and objective was so they didn't run away. And he was severe in his dealings towards the Muslims. Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi lived in this time, in this situation where Barazan is controlling. So what he did was, he left Jamma'il and he went to seek knowledge. He went to Iraq, he went to other parts of Sham, he went to Misr, he went to seek knowledge, and he came back with ulum of the Quran, qira'at, hadith, fiqh. He came back with so much knowledge. And so when he came back, Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi, he sat down in Jamma'il and he started to teach the people lessons. He started to give them classes. I want you to ponder on this story, inshallah ta'ala. There are many benefits that we can take from it, inshallah ta'ala. So he used to teach them Quran, and he would teach them fiqh and hadith, and on Fridays he would give them a good khutbah for them to listen to, which can affect their hearts. Barazan was informed. They told Barazan that Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi is giving lectures, and he's giving reminders, and he's also teaching the people, and he's making them memorize the Quran, and he's making them memorize a hadith and fiqh. And this is affecting the outcome of the agriculture. It's affecting the work that the laborers are doing for you. So Barazan, being a tyrannical leader, he said, kill him. Kill Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama. Kill this man. When Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama when he ordered the killing of this great Imam, an employer who worked for him, a man who worked for Barazan, came to the Imam Ahmad ibn Muhammad, and he said, there's news going around that Barazan has made a command, and he said that you should be killed. So Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama got scared for himself. And imagine, subhanAllah, the effect that this man had in Jamma'il, that even the people who worked for Barazan would inform him and tell him that he wants to kill you. So Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama said, okay, I'm going to leave now. I'm going to run away from Jamma'il. And he went towards Dimashq. Dimashq is in Sham, right? So this is all Sham. It's in Syria, sorry. So he went towards Dimashq. When he came to Dimashq, he came to a masjid called Masjid Abi Salih. And I want to ponder, this is a story that's got fawaid and benefits that we'll extract from it later. He came to a masjid called Masjid Abi Salih. This masjid that he came to, Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama, was a masjid owned by, those days, the masajids were run by madhabs. So the Hanafi madhab, they had their own masjid. The Shafi'i madhab, they had their own masjids. The Hanabila, they had their own masajids. And everyone had their own masajids. When he came to this masjid, Masjid Abi Salih, it was a masjid that was run by a family called Baytul Hanabila. It's a Hanbali house. The man, his name was Abu Salih al-Hanbali. He was a Hanbali in madhab, fiqh. He made the masjid, he placed for the masjid a waqf, an endowment, and he died. So Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama came to Dimashq, and when he came, he stayed in that masjid. He's a father, he's a husband, he's got children, he's got cousins, he's got family members that he's left behind in Jama'il. He ran for his life. So he wrote a letter. Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama, he wrote a letter. And from the things that he mentioned in the letter was to his family, come with me, come after me. All of you leave Jama'il and come to Dimashq. And then he wrote the ayah, فَمَنْ تَبِعَنِي فَإِنَّهُ مِنِّي وَمَنْ عَصَانِي فَإِنَّكَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. He wrote that ayah. فَمَنْ تَبِعَنِي, whoever follows me, فَإِنَّهُ مِنِّي, he's from me. وَمَنْ عَصَانِي, and the one who disobeys me and doesn't come after me. فَإِنَّكَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ, oh Allah, you are one who forgives. And he commanded his family to leave and run away from Jama'il. Abu Salih and Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama, he stayed in the masjid waiting for his family. His family, they left Jama'il and they made their way to Dimashq. When they made their way to Dimashq, they took a route, and on the road, highway robbers caught them. They grabbed what? The family of Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama, and they took their belongings, they took their wealth, they kidnapped them. And after struggle and hardship, they made it to the Masjid Abi Salih. When they came to the masjid, after being tired and fatigued and losing a lot of their property, the place they came to wasn't a safe haven. They came to a place where it was filthy and there was a lot of mosquitoes. And so 28 members of his family died from malaria. How many? 28 family members died. To the extent they reached that they were waiting for the person to die. They would look at him and they were waiting for him to die. I really want you guys to really focus on this story. So Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama, he stayed in that masjid as long as possible. I want you to ponder, at that time, Dimashq is run by a leader, a righteous man, a noble man. His name is Nuruddin Mahmud al-Zanki rahimahullah. Nuruddin Mahmud al-Zanki rahimahullah. Let me mention to you who this man is. Nuruddin Mahmud al-Zanki rahimahullah, he's originally a Turk. His father, Nuruddin Mahmud al-Zanki's father, was a Rafidi. And his granddad was a Rafidi. But he, Nuruddin Mahmud al-Zanki, was not. He was Ahlul Sunnah. He was a righteous man. One of the things that they said about him was, كَانَ عَفِيفَ الْفَرْجِ وَالْبَطْنِ. He was a man who didn't commit zina. And he was a man who stayed away from the people's belongings, like he never robbed the people's wealth. I mean, he's a leader, right, of Dimashq. They said he was afif al-batni wal-farj. A man who protected his private part, and he protected what he took and what he ate. Rahimahullah. A poet who was describing him, he said, جَمَعَ الشَّجَاعَةَ وَالْخُشُوعَ لَدَيْهِ مَا أَحْسَنَ الْمِحْرَابَ فِي الْمِحْرَابِ. جمع الشجاعة والخشوع لديه. The two things combined in Nuruddin al-Zanki. جمع الشجاعة, bravery. جمع الشجاعة والخشوع, humility. A man who was خاشع in the salah and ibadah. ما أحسن المحراب في المحراب. Two mihrabs is mentioned here. ما أحسن المحراب. What is greater than al-mihrab in a mihrab? The first mihrab means a warrior. Second mihrab means the masjid, the mihrab that we pray in salah. What is greater than a warrior who prays with humility? That's who he was, Nuruddin Mahmud al-Zanki rahimahullah. Nuruddin Mahmud al-Zanki has a Qadi al-Qudat. Qadi al-Qudat, brothers, is the Ministry of Justice now, today. You look at it today, Wazir al-Adli is Qadi al-Qudat. The Qadi al-Qudat, the Ministry of Justice for Nuruddin al-Zanki, is a great, noble Imam whose name is Sharafuddin Abu Sa'd ibn al-Asrun rahimahullah. Qadi ibn al-Asrun rahimahullah. Al-Qadi ibn Asrun was a faqih Shafi'i. رجل فاضل, a noble man. Al-Qadi ibn Asrun is the teacher of Ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi. You all know Ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi, the author of the kitab Al-Mughni, which is a sharh of Mukhtasar al-Khiraqi. Ibn Qudama's teacher is this man who is the Ministry of Justice for Nuruddin al-Zinki, is the teacher of Ibn Qudama, the author of the kitab Umdatul Ahkam. Do you know him? Abdul Ghani ibn Abdul Wahid al-Maqdisi. He's a student of Sharafuddin Abu Sa'd ibn al-Asrun, Al-Qadi ibn Asrun, and also Abu Umar al-Maqdisi, who we're going to talk about later. Are we all together? These are all students of this Qadi. I'll tell you a quick story on the side that is mentioned. Al-Imam Ibn Qudama and Abu Umar al-Maqdisi, these two are the children of the Imam that ran away from, I don't want to confuse you with the names, so just pay attention with me. Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama is who? Who is he? Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama, who is he? He's the father who ran away from Jama'il. Where did he run to? He ran to Damascus. He had sons, and his son is who? Ibn Qudama, the one who wrote the Mughni. He's the father of the one who wrote the Mughni. And he's also the father of another Imam by the name of Abu Umar al-Maqdisi, who I want you to remember, inshallah ta'ala. Two of his sons, they learned from who? Qadi al-Qudat. Sharafuddin ibn Asrun, rahimahullah, Qadi ibn Asrun. A story I'm going to tell you. Ibn Qudama is telling the story. He said, me and my brother Abu Umar al-Maqdisi, we stopped going to the classes of Ibn Asrun. We stopped going to his class for a period of time. And the reason why we did was because a group of people came up to us and they said to us, Sirtum Asha'ira. You guys have become Asha'ira. Because they suspected that Ibn Asrun was an Ash'ari. So what he did was, they both disconnected from his class and they stopped going to his classes and they left it. Ibn Qudama stopped it, and also Abu Umar al-Maqdisi, they both stopped. So Sharafuddin ibn Asrun saw both of them. Specifically, he saw Abu Umar al-Maqdisi. He grabbed him by the hand and he said to him, I haven't seen you in my classes lately. What's happened to you? Why have you stopped coming to my classes? He said, the reason I stopped coming to the classes is because we heard that you are an Ash'ari in your Aqidah. And since you are an Ash'ari, we don't want to take knowledge from you. And he said, Wallahi ana lastu bi Ash'ari. Wallahi, I am not an Ash'ari. Walakin, but if you stay with me for 1 year, both of you, you and your brother, if you stay with me for 1 year, you will become Imams in fiqh. Both of you. Abu Umar and Ibn Qudama, if you stay with me, you will become fuqaha, jurists, big Imams. 1 year, just stay with me for 1 year. And so they went back to the classes and they took knowledge from him. Let's go back again. So Nuruddin al-Zinki rahimahullah is the leader of the country, and who's his Qadi, who's his Ministry of Justice? Ibn Asrun, who's a Shafi'i. Ibn Asrun heard that Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi ran away from Jama'il and he made it to Damascus, and he's living a very hard life in Masjid Abi Salih. He requested that something be done for him. So Ibn Asrun and Nuruddin al-Zinki sat down and they revised a plan. What can we do for this great Imam? They came to the decision that they're going to give him the waqf of the Masjid Abi Salih, and they're going to give the masjid itself all to Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama. It's yours, you control it, it's in your hands. And Nuruddin al-Zinki and Al-Qadi ibn al-Asrun, both of them came to him. It's the leader of the country, and his Qadi al-Qudat, the Ministry of Justice. Both of them came to him in the Masjid Abi Salih with their delegation and their number of men and their security. They came to him. When they entered onto Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama, they gave him the letter. The letter's got a seal of approval from Nuruddin al-Zinki. When he gave it to him, Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama was in Salah, he was praying. And they said he used to pray 100 rak'ah a day sunnah. And he used to finish the Quran 75 times a month. Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama. He was a abid. So when they entered onto him, he looked and then he saw Nuruddin al-Zinki rahimahullah and al-Qadi al-Qudat, Qadi Sharafuddin ibn Asrun. They gave him the letter and they said, this masjid is yours and you can take over the waqf of the masjid. And then he said something powerful. And this can only come from a person whose base is built. He's got a strong base. He said, ما هاجرت لأنافس الناس في دنياهم. I did not migrate from Jama'il, and I did not come to Damascus, so I can compete with the people in their worldly affairs. I didn't leave my country and where I didn't run away, so I can compete with the people in their what? In their dunya. And then he said, and also I don't even want to stay here in this area. I don't even want to stay in the Masjid Abi Salih. I don't want to stay. And then he said to the leader, Nuruddin al-Zinki, may Allah reward you for the khutuwat, the steps that you take to come to me. And he looked at the Qadi al-Qudat, Sharafuddin ibn Asrun. He said, may Allah also reward you for the walking and the efforts that you've also put in. Barakallahu feekuma, may Allah reward you both. And he went back to his ibadah. Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama then said to his family, we need to find a place to move to. So he went to a mountain which they used to bury their dead who died. There was a mountain called Jabal Qasiyun. A mountain called what? Jabal Qasiyun was a mountain. Under there they used to bury anyone who died from their family members. In Masjid Abi Salih, anyone who died, they would go to the mountain and they would bury them there. So what happened was, he went there, rahimahullah, he said, today I have to find a place for us to move to. So he went to the mountain and he saw a good spot at the place. He looked around, rahimahullah. When he looked, he went to there was a river that ran there called Nahru Yazid. He went to the river called Nahru Yazid and he put his hand into the water and he did wudu from it and he prayed there again. And then he put a rock and he said, هَذِهِ مَكَانٌ. This is a place which is tayyibun. It's a good place. This is a good place for us. And he said, inshallah, this will be the place we're going to stay. He went to his family and he said, I have found a place for us and we're going to move there. And every day he used to put a number of stones, a number of bricks, that's it, on top of each other to build something for them. I really want you to ponder on this. Something big is going to come from this. He used to put rocks on top of each other. Just rocks. And he would go home, and next day he would go, put something on. People in the area found out that what he was trying to do. And so they went and they helped him in building the place fast. He got 3 rooms done with the help of the people and his efforts, and he told his family, let's move. He took the family out of the Masjid Abi Salih and he brought them to the house that he built. When he brought them to the house, 4 rooms he made, 4 rooms. He took 1 room, rahimahullah. Ibn Qudama took another room. Ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi took another room. Abi Umar took another room. And the story here is mentioned by the sister, and I want our sisters to ponder here. Their sister, Abi Umar al-Maqdisi and Ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi's sister, whose name is Ruqayyah binti Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi. She's the sister of Ibn Qudama and she's the sister of Abi Umar. She said, when Dad made the building and he built the place for us, she said, what I did was, I told my brother Ibn Qudama and Abi Umar, both of them, to each take a room. So you take your own room, you take your room. and the rest of us were most likely going to die. Let's all just stay together in one room. She's the mother of, Ruqayya is the mother of Ad-Diya al-Maqdisi rahimahullah, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahid. This is his mother, who was the Imam of what? Muhaddithu Ahli Sham. She's his mother. She's going to give birth to him later. I just want you to see this family and how they are. And it really doesn't matter the money and the poverty that you go through in this dunya. The poet he said, الجود الجوع يطرد بالرغيف اليابس فعلى ما تكثر حسرتي ووساوسي. Hunger is pushed away with a dry bread. You can get rid of your hunger by having a dry bread. Why are you so stressed over this whole dunya and the money and wealth? Why are you so stressed about it? Why is it your ultimate goal? That doesn't mean you shouldn't have wealth or anything, but that shouldn't be your ultimate goal. على كل حال, Ibn Qudama rahimahullah, he stayed in his room. Abu Umar al-Maqdisi stayed in his room, and Ruqayya said the rest of us, we stayed in one room together. Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama said to his family, I'm an old man now. I built this much for you guys. I can no longer stay with you guys to take care of the family affairs. He grabbed his oldest son, Abu Umar, and he said, Father, take care of the family. I now want to go to the room for ibadah. I want to cut off from all the people. I just want to go towards ibadah. And after 1 year, Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama died, rahimahullah rahmatan wasi'ah, after he built the house for them. His oldest son is Abu Muhammad al-Maqdisi. Abu Umar Muhammad ibn Ahmad ibn Qudama is his name. Muhammad ibn, his kunya is Abu Umar, and his name is what? Muhammad ibn Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi. Abu Umar is going to open a madrasa called Madrasatu Umariyyah. Abu Umar is going to open what? A madrasa known as what? From the rocks that were put together, he opened what? A madrasa known as what? Madrasa known as... Madrasa, have you guys heard of that madrasa before? This is where it came from. Abu Umar al-Maqdisi rahimahullah, by the way, this madrasa is going to produce Ibn Taymiyyah, Abu al-Hajjaj al-Mizzi, Alamuddin al-Barzari, Ibn Kathir. These are going to come out of this madrasa later. Remember where it started from, where did it start from? Bricks every day, put on top of each other. Don't ever belittle. لا تحقرن. Don't ever belittle صغيرة. Don't belittle something very little and say this is nothing. What is this I'm doing? إن الجبال من الحصى, right? The mountains is from what? It's from pebbles that came together, right? So Abu Umar al-Maqdisi rahimahullah took over the affairs of his family. He stood up and he took care of his family. He was a righteous man, Abu Umar al-Maqdisi rahimahullah. Very righteous, very noble, very pious. From the things that was mentioned from his life rahimahullah was that he doubled the ibadat of his father. He doubled it. And he was also a person who really was passionate about teaching the Quran. It was said that his routine was, he would pray Salatul Fajr, and when he says Salaam alaikum, he would call the people that were waiting for him to come together, and he would teach them the Quran until Salatul Duha. And when Salatul Duha enters, he would stand up and he would pray. And the salah was long and it was lengthy, his prayer of Salatul Duha. They said he used to love to drink milk. It was the best thing that he loved in this dunya. He said, I don't love anything in this dunya except a cup of milk. Whatever he used to eat, the older he got, he divided it into two and he gave the other half to the people. And the cup of milk, his family one day they prepared it for him to give it to him. And when they were about to give it to him, he said, I don't want to drink milk anymore. And they said, why? Why have you chosen not to drink the milk? And he said, I love it so much that I want to love it for a Muslim brother of mine. I have left it for him to have it. And then recited the ayah, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. You're never going to reach righteousness until you give what you really love. So I really love milk. So my love for it is that I'm going to let those who want to drink it to drink it. Rahimahullah. So he was a man like that in his righteousness and his piety. Abu Umar al-Maqdisi, an initiative grew in his mind, which is this particular masjid should not just be left as a masjid. It shouldn't, the place that they lived should not just be a place for them to reside and eat and sleep, but it should be turned into a what? A madrasa, a school. And there are two cars that are blocking, a Vauxhall SP60 WUB and a Honda Black LM54EYY. Now, so remove your car, inshallah ta'ala. If you're blocking someone right now and you're planning to listen to the lecture, so other people just want to pray and they want to leave. So remove your car, inshallah ta'ala. Where was I in the story? Huh? So Abu Umar al-Maqdisi, he made the decision that he's going to turn this place into a what? He's going to turn this place into a madrasa. And that it's going to become a madrasa that's going to produce ulama and ahlul ilm. People of what? People of knowledge. So what happened was, at this particular moment, I won't finish the story today, inshallah ta'ala. I'll stop there. Next week, Friday, I'll finish off, inshallah ta'ala. Bi-idhnillahi al-kareem. Second half, we'll do next week, inshallah ta'ala. But the point I want to take from the part of the story that I mentioned, I want to extract some benefits from, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, brothers? The next beginning part, I want to mention some stories from it. The first point, brothers, is Ahmed ibn Muhammad ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi, what did he do? He migrated from where? Let's ponder on this issue of hijrah. What he did, rahimahullah. I want us to all realize, brothers, that as Muslims, we are in a state of fear for our deen every day. Every day we're scared for our deen, our identity. And a Muslim is meant to migrate from the following things. Number one, is to migrate from an evil individual. A friend that's going to change somebody who's going to corrupt your deen, and it's going to become a problem for your deen. You should stay away from them and leave them. And befriend those who are righteous. Choose your friends wisely, the people you want to be with, the people you want to be around you. The friend is a reflection of who you are. Ibn Qudama and Abu Umar al-Maqdisi, they accompanied each other in everything. And then later when Abu Umar al-Maqdisi became the leader and he was trying to run the family, Ibn Qudama befriended his cousin, Abdul Ghani ibn Abdul Wahid al-Maqdisi. And they both went to Abdul Qadir al-Jailani in where? In Baghdad. Which we're going to mention, inshallah ta'ala, in next week's class. Or next week's lecture. Are we all together, brothers? To leave these people who are evil. You can sometimes reach your potentials, but someone is pulling you down. A friend can drag you down. And that's what the hadith really meant. Al-mar'u ala dini khalilihi. The person is of the religion of his friend. فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَحَدُكُمْ مَنْ يُخَالِلُ. Look at who you take as a friend. Me sometimes, I may not be motivated to read or memorize something, and then I might meet a brother who's strong, who's serious, who's dedicated on study, and I see him and I become what? Motivated. I feel, Allahumma barik, he pushes me to my potentials and I become dedicated to do more for that time. So the friend can affect you. It can definitely affect you. If Nabiullah Muhammad was said to, Allah said to Nabiullah Muhammad, وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَدَاةِ وَالْعَشِيِّ يُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَهُ. Muhammad, who Allah, salawatullah wa sallam alayhi, Allah is going to give aid and support to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. مَعَ ذَلِكَ, he's told to be with righteous people. What about you who don't have no support from Allah Azza wa Jalla, or you don't have no revelation supporting you? May Allah support us and aid us. But You don't have revelation coming down on you. You do? مع ذلك, it's more for you to take a good friend. You youngsters who are friends with people who are not righteous, even some of you, it's just only my school friends and I knew him. If he's not going to bring you to good, leave him. Walk away from it. And that's why I always say, brothers, don't think about bringing good for yourself. First of all, think about preventing the evil. Always remember that. Before you start thinking about bringing good for yourself, think about what? Getting rid of the harm that's coming. Number 2, leave off evil acts. Boycotts. The hadith is, Al-muhajiru man hajara ma naha Allahu anhu. The muhajir is what? The one who migrates from what Allah prohibited. Some youngsters are suffering from haram things that they watch online and haram things that they deal with online. If that is because of a gadget or something you're using, then boycott it. Get rid of it. Get something that won't do this to you. Are we all together, brothers? Al-wiqaya, prevent yourself from these things. Number 3 is, brothers, migrate from the lands of crimes. Lands where it's shar and fasad. Leave those lands and go to the lands of khayr, a land of good. Al-Imam Sufyan ibn Sa'id ibn Masruq al-Thawri rahimahullah, he came to a land and no one was asking him any questions. No one was coming to him and asking him any questions. And so he said to Ruwad ibn al-Jarrah, صح? Was it Ruwad ibn al-Jarrah? Yeah? Huh? Yeah, the land was Asqalan that he came down. The land was the Ard al-Asqalan he went to. And he said to Ruwad ibn I know his name was Ruwad, but I don't know the second name, I'm doubtful. He said to him, come on, let's leave this land. A land where no one is asking us any Islamic questions. Now let's leave this land. We can't stay in a land like this. Knowledge will leave us like this. Knowledge is going to go. The way to keep knowledge is questions. I saw something when I went to the UAE, the place I'm at right now. What I saw was, you give an advice to someone. Important. I learned this. So you give an advice to someone and they go. Next lesson, when they come back to you, they've either become better or they are good and they've taken your advice on. Things don't get worse. Reason is because when they leave you, generally speaking, they don't get what? Affected like the youngsters and the people here get affected. Khutbatul Jum'ah, you come once a week, and then next one is next khutbah. But in between those 6 days before you come to the Friday khutbah, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What is coming to your heart and mind? And so sometimes I don't want to come across negative, but I think to myself, when I look at Western countries, maybe these people are going to do all of these things. It's the inevitable. It's going to happen. The du'at's role in these countries is only to slow down what's going to happen. They're only slowing it down. It's going to happen anyways. The reason I say that is because the environment is more than us. And I came to the conclusion that we as Muslims in this country and other Western countries, we're trying to force the deen into the system that they created it not to accept it. Trying to push it in there. And so guess what? It's a hole. If you try to push something bigger in a hole that it doesn't fit, what do you start doing? You start to make it smaller and smaller and smaller so it can fit. That's what you're doing to your religion. You're making it smaller and smaller, and you're changing your religion every day so it can fit inside that. And then they make that hole even tighter now, and then you try to make it smaller until you're left with what? I'll give you an example. I saw the shuyukh in Muslim countries. The mashayikh in the Western countries and the mashayikh and the students of knowledge in the Muslim countries. Wallahi, they're different. Students, forget the amatul nas. The mashayikh in the Muslim countries are innocent. They're not exposed to it. One of the mashayikh came here to this country from Saudi Arabia, and he said, I never ever thought that somebody makes money from standing on a stage and making people laugh. He means a comedian. He never thought that there was a comedian that makes money out of making people laugh. Are we all together, brothers? One of my mashayikh one time, he gave a fatwa that the Maggi, you guys know the Maggi? Yeah. The Maggi, the cooking thing. That you cook, you put it into your food. You guys know Maggi? Put your hand if you know it. Yeah, the Maggi. Is it called Maggi or Maggi? Huh? Maraq digaga wa Somali, They add it to the food, right? So the Sheikh gave a fatwa that it's haram. So I went to him and said, Sheikh, how is it haram? Please listen. I really want you guys to understand what his reason was. It really showed me how innocent and honest our mashayikh and our ulama are in the Muslim countries. His reason was, if it's halal, why did they write halal on it? He said, do you write halal on water? You see my point, brothers? And I said, Sheikh, we're in a country where food is haram. And that's the most. So everything other than that, they have to write on it what? Halal. This is ghafla. He doesn't know, he's not aware of it. It just shows you how innocent and honest they are. Are you with me? And sincere they are.